Weekend UpNate. The Weekend UpNate. Your weekly recap of news, current events, and trending stories. Let's do this. The Weekend UpNate with your host, Nate Armbruster.
Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Weekend UpNate. I hope you had a great week. I got a haircut from a student. Okay, does this make sense to you? If you're looking for a cheap haircut, this is something you can do. You go to like one of these like salon training centers, right? Like a school that teaches haircutting, and then you go in and for a drastically cheaper price, you can get a haircut. This is the first time I've ever done this, okay? My hair's like long thanks to COVID. I mean, this is the longest my hair's ever been, and I've kind of kept it going, right? So I'm like, you can't just go to any old barber. The last time I went to a barber, I sat in the chair and the guy literally said, I don't know if I feel comfortable cutting your hair. And because he doesn't know how to cut long hair, I guess. So I don't know. I'm learning the difference between a barber and a stylist, I guess you could say. But I'm not paying $70 for a haircut. You know what I mean? That's why I kind of just got lazy and let it grow. Like, that's the thing. If anyone has long hair, in most cases, it's not a style choice. It kind of started out as like just out of pure laziness, at least for me. So I was like, okay, I got to do something about this hair. So I went to a salon school, and some woman who's she's probably like 20 years old. Okay. And I sit in her chair and she looks at me and she goes, I've never done a men's haircut before. And I'm like, well, this is going to go great, isn't it? And I'm like, well, today's your lucky day, because now now I'm just a practice dummy, But that's what you pay for. This is what I'm realizing in life. If you have money, the main thing it does is buy you time, right? Because if you can afford the fancy haircut, you can go to the place where the person knows exactly what they're doing, and you're in and out. But for me, what is probably in most cases a simple haircut, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Probably took her an hour. And you're just sitting there feeling like a dummy because you're like I don't know. It's just weird. It's so funny. It's such an odd predicament. It's not even a predicament. It's just an odd place to be, where you're just sitting there and like, this girl has no idea what she's doing, does she? Like, she's just trying to remember what she learned in class. And then it's funny when the instructor comes over to check their work. They're like looking at your hair like, oh, you missed this spot. You missed this spot. You missed this spot. And although it wasn't like a bad haircut or it went fine, it is funny though. I'm so glad that the instructor comes over at the end just to make it like look normal, So if you're looking for a cheap haircut, I suggest one of these places. I think next I'm going to go to the School of Dentistry to get my teeth cleaned. Like, I think I'm just going to let people who don't know what they're doing work on everything. I think that's just the trick in life. You want to save a few bucks, Also, it's kind of bullshit that teeth aren't included in health insurance. They got to have your own separate shit for that. And for the life of me, I will never understand the point of insurance. I'm paying all this money every month, and yet I still get a bill. You still got to pay for shit. This is a big problem for me lately. I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I'm a young person, but mentally I'm pretty old. Like, the things I complain about, the things that bother me are, it's like, well, how old are you? Like, we went out to dinner with some friends the other night, and one of them was like, hey, I think we're going to go to this club after. And I literally said, how old are you? And he's older than me. And I'm like, you're still cool. You know what I mean? I can't do that. I don't have it in me to go out after. Like, they're going out at 11 o'clock. No, man. I'm in bed by 11, even on a Friday and Saturday. Unless I'm doing stand-up, I'm in bed on a Friday at 11, okay? Like, I'm really leaning into this old age stuff. One of my favorite parts about life right now is finding a good parking situation wherever I'm going. Okay, the first thing I'm doing is figuring out where I'm parking, and I'm going to park in such a way that makes it easy to leave. So, like, if we're going to, let's say, like a Cubs game or something, right? And I'm going to park in the direction facing which I want to leave, so I don't have to turn around. Is this dumb? This is dumb, but this is what I think about on a daily basis. Here's how I know I'm getting old. There was a car speeding today when I was walking my dog, and it was going way too fast. It was maybe going 20 miles over the limit, And, there's people out walking. And this guy is speeding. And I literally threw my hands up like, what the hell? That is an old guy move right there. Also, it's got to be something pretty ridiculous for me to actually acknowledge. Because normally I'm avoiding any conversation with anyone all the time. One old guy thing that hasn't hit me yet is being mad about Brittany Griner coming home. That was got to be the biggest story of the week, maybe, right? And I love how it just kind of happened, like you just woke up, you're like, oh, shit, Brittany Griner's on her way home. And honestly, I think it's great she's home. Wouldn't it suck? This is what I notice about everybody's attitude around this is usually it's kind of got a shitty, demeanor about it. You know what I mean? Like, people are, particularly mad at her, and all she did, she didn't really do anything. Sure, if all that she had on her was a little bit of weed, I think it's stupid she was arrested, but I also think it was stupid that she tried to travel into Russia with drugs. I would never do that. However, I also don't think that she shouldn't be allowed to come home. That's what people kind of, at least the reaction online seemed to be real kind of shit. Well, it was 50-50, right? Half of people were like, this is bullshit, and the other half are like, welcome home. And I just don't understand why anybody wouldn't be happy that she's back, because that would put yourself in their shoes, okay? Imagine being in a Russian prison, really, for something so stupid nonetheless, okay? I think she's served plenty of time. What was she over there almost a year in custody or something like that? It's not quite a year, but that's a long-ass time, man. And we swapped her for a Russian arms dealer, this Victor Bout character, who is obviously not a good dude, but at the end of the day, you're only going to get who they're going to give you. You know what I'm saying? To assume that we couldn't get that journalist back. There's other prisoners that we could have swapped for that people are advocating for, which nobody gave a shit until Brittany. This is why it all just seems so, the reaction to it just seems so kind of fake. Sure, maybe it wasn't an equal swap when you figure the crimes that the prisoners committed, but also you never thought about this shit until Brittany Griner made national news. You know what I'm saying? Also, can we stop with this hack joke? This is the first time a trade for a WNBA player has made headline news. Ha 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 ha. It's a funny joke, but okay, it's been said a million times. I think can we stop with that? Honestly, I feel bad for Brittany Griner. All she wanted to do was play basketball and get a little stoned on her off days, and I don't know if it ruined her life, but it definitely didn't. You know what? Maybe at the end of the day, this will help. I'm sure she'll get some sort of book deal about this. I don't know. But I can tell you it's probably totally not worth it. And so I've been reading up on this Victor Bout guy, the guy that they swapped for Brittany Griner. Every documentary that's been made about this guy, any TV show, he's got the nickname The Merchant of Death, which I found particularly menacing. It is fun. It's wild to see. And I never really heard of the guy until all this started happening. I'm like, how have I missed out on all this? All this, this guy's whole career or life of crime. Every documentary, The Merchant of Death. Also, it says here on his Wikipedia page that he's a vegetarian, which I find hilarious for such a badass, right? Or for such a criminal to be like, oh, no, I don't eat animals. All right, I think I'm going to leave it at that this week. If you guys are enjoying the show, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about it. Maybe share the link. Send it to your friends' group chat, your Slack channels, your Discords. I don't know. However you're communicating with people. Tell everybody about it. And above all else, tune in next week for another edition of Weekend UpNate.
You've been listening to the Weekend UpNate with Nate Armbruster, and you liked it, didn't you? If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Weekend UpNate.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.